If you've watched my channel before, you'll know that I've talked about game interfaces and how they can affect the overall experience of a game. While obviously not the most important thing about a game, it's something you're likely to notice if it's bad. Which is why, instead of talking about something that's bad, which I feel I've done quite a bit, I'd rather talk about things I love. Now, what's the first thing you see when you open a game? Not the game turning your monitor on and off for some reason, and not all the company logos, or a trailer for new content. I'm talking about main menus. It's a game's first impression on you. In the same way a handshake can tell you a lot about a person, a good main menu can tell you so much about a game and what it has in store for you. The tone, the setting, a good main menu conveys all of that through, usually, a simple background and a choice of music. A lot of people don't think twice about main menus like this, usually because their first thoughts upon opening a game are, oh my god, why is this so loud? Where do I turn off motion blur? And where are the subtitles? While main menus are primarily judged at first glance from a utilitarian perspective, that being how well they can get you from point A, the title screen, to point B, the game, or even point C, any of the settings I just listed, it usually isn't until well past their heyday that they're judged on the elements that seemed obvious at first glance. The sound effects, tone, theming, music, when done incorrectly on either a utilitarian or artistic front, that handshake can feel more like a punch to the face. Let's start somewhere by talking about Kingdom Hearts, a franchise that can sometimes feel like a punch in the face. For a series that tells stories about Disney characters and Final Fantasy characters and original characters, focusing on something like the main menu definitely seems pointless. Most people that would talk about Kingdom Hearts would bring up its convoluted storyline, how it came to exist in the first place, or how you should definitely play it considering the PC ports aren't stuck in Epic Games exclusivity hell anymore. I genuinely believe that Kingdom Hearts 1 has one of the greatest main menus ever created. It certainly doesn't look as flashy as many other main menus, but what it does best is provide you with a feeling. Artwork of Sora staring out into the sea, a beautiful piano rendition of Dearly Beloved, and the sound of waves gently crashing amongst the shore. This game's handshake is introducing you to the first location in the game. It's Destiny Islands, a sort of idyllic tropical paradise where Sora lives and has been growing up. It's a common RPG trope, the humble beginnings, starting out in a small location or hometown that gets you used to what you'll be doing and experiencing throughout the rest of the game, but on a smaller scale. Fallout New Vegas actually does this idea really well with the town of Goodsprings, and yes, I understand that these are very different games. This main menu design and the song Dearly Beloved is a constant throughout the franchise, which also leads to a dedicated fan having a favorite. I could probably ask 10 different Kingdom Hearts fans what their favorite main menu is, and they'd all tell me a different game, or even a different collection of games, or collection of remakes. It is statistically possible that there is someone out there who is a super fan of the original Game Boy Advance Chain of Memories main menu theme that's willing to fight someone whose favorite is the Chain of Memories version, which is the 3D remake of the game. I'm off topic, but what I really think matters here is that I've never played Kingdom Hearts. I've been waiting for the ports to come to Steam, and yet these main menus mean something to me. I feel this. I feel these main menus with 0 hours in the game and limited knowledge of the franchise. To some people, any of these main menus could be considered too simple to be impressive. There's no animated themed background like Black Ops 1 or Halo 3, and the menu doesn't do anything special, like how the Darknesses casts a shadow on the writhing tentacles in the background, has the tentacles practically jump scare you when you select a new option, or how the Chronicles of Riddick Escape from Butcher Bay has this sick-ass cube that rotates and rebuilds itself depending on what options you press. Also, yes, this is the best quality footage I could find of this. The other video has a huge Fraps watermark, and I might just be the first comment on it ever. It's not that one title screen does anything inherently better or worse than the other. Both are sick. A simple title screen isn't any worse or any better because another group of developers decided to animate a cool background. Imagine for a moment if a game like Anthem had the best elements of a simple menu like Kingdom Hearts, the narrative tie-in of a menu like Black Ops 1, and the cool animations of the Riddick Cube. While it'd surely be memorable, most people would probably just make jokes about how the gameplay or live service should have received the same attention. Of course, when done well, a main menu is an entirely unique, soft introduction to the themes of a game, be it a simple or complex menu. Alien Isolation's main menu is simple, but perfectly conveys isolation, while Mirror's Edge's main menu conveys the cold, sleek, dystopian future the game's story is set in. In some cases, a main menu can even serve as a reminder to where you left off in a story. Most Valve games serve as a good example, like Half-Life 2. As a game, it isn't something that's ever really remembered specifically for its main menu. You might hear things like one of the most revolutionary FPS games ever made, a gold standard for physics interactions, or innovative narrative storytelling, and all of that isn't really surprising. I could say these phrases on their own in a video and get a comment from a guy named Paintman87 that says something like, I remember when Half-Life 2 came out when I was in senior year of high school, and that game just blew me away. I didn't know an FPS could be that good. Disliked because you didn't mention Croc Legend of the Gobos though. I'm sorry, Paintman87, I promise to do better. While Half-Life 2's main menu isn't super flashy at all, like say a menu like Dishonored 2's, the fun thing Half-Life 2 does is change the main menu's background depending on where you left off in the story. Now, Hey, don't lose me here. I know, this sounds a little bland, but I think it's a fun feature and is a choice pick from the developers for a game so revolutionary to narrative FPS storytelling. There are a lot of games that come out nowadays that take 20 plus, 30 plus, sometimes even 60 plus hours to beat. And then that time can be doubled depending on how you choose to interact with the content in the game. Having some sort of reminder on what is going on and what last happened is something I'd appreciate for some longer games. I spent a month playing through Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and while I remembered pretty much everything that happened, some of the callbacks to the beginning of the game definitely made me want for some type of recap just so I could fully understand the impact of certain story moments. While Valve's way of doing this is definitely pretty subtle, which is definitely fine for the average length of their games, there's a lot of other games that have less subtle methods due to their much longer runtimes. Yakuza 0 has a sort of previously on recap thing that catch you up on what happened when you switch protagonists. The Witcher 3 and Batman Arkham Knight both choose to remind you what's going on while you sit through the loading screens, which is better than a black screen, and I'm biased when I say this because of nostalgia, but one of my favorite forms of story recaps is through the flashback sequences in Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, or the notebook in Pokemon Platinum, and others. Okay, so admittedly, a lot of this information about main menus can sound a little bland. Someone is sitting on their couch right now, Stryxo on the TV, and wondering why I seem to be scraping the bottom of the barrel to talk about how much I like main menus, but I think the little details are really important here. It's like Sonic the Hedgehog, and I promise that'll correlate in a second. Not everyone is a Sonic fan, obviously, but I'm willing to bet most people know about City Escape. It's probably the franchise's most popular stage, and it's one of the most popular pieces of gaming music outright. Obviously, if I try to point out the best qualities of this stage and explain to you why it's a nearly timeless classic, I wouldn't point out these barrels that are an optional path over a bottomless pit. I would mention the music, the gameplay, the intro cutscene, the setting, the theming, level gimmicks, stage hazards, whatever else. Honestly, it's funny I should mention Sonic Adventure 2 here because this game also had recaps built in whenever you loaded the game back up. Sorry, off topic. City Escape would be lesser without the rails, the truck, the music, the snowboard, literally everything that makes the level memorable and interesting. So in that same vein, I'm sure that your favorite main menu wouldn't be nearly as memorable without the music or the background animations, the sound effects, etc. And this all rolls back into main menus being a game's first handshake, because in the same way main menus are made up of the sum of their parts, so are games. Trying to say a main menu is good only because of the music or only because of the background is like trying to say a game only has one good thing going for it. The only game that might truly be good for one single thing is Shadow of Mordor, and the Nemesis system. And that statement was bait, because Shadow of Mordor's strongest soldier just scrolled down to the comment section to talk about how underrated that game is. Hell, I mentioned Anthem earlier, and while most people would probably say that game's only redeeming quality was the Iron Man-like mech suit flight, I have to disagree because I also like the music. With what I love about main menus firmly stated and out of the way, I think a roundup of what my personal favorites are and why is in order. Starting off, I obviously have to say the Halo series. Nostalgia, music, and just theming in general make this series' main menus some of my favorites ever. I mentioned Kingdom Hearts already, so you get it. Mirror's Edge, which I mentioned, has a sort of vibe that I think was truly lost coming into Mirror's Edge Catalyst. The music, sounds, and graphics create this idyllic sense of nostalgia for a certain design style that just doesn't really exist anymore. It's really hard for me to explain, but it's the same feeling I get looking at a Frutiger Arrow city. They're not the same design style, but they evoke the same feeling, if that makes sense. Doom 2016's main menu is, I think, one of the best ways to immediately set the tone for what your reboot's atmosphere is going to be like. Mick Gordon's score is gritty and evil, and for a menu meant to emulate the corporate software found throughout UAC's terminals is an excellent decision for theming. Also, if you don't know, UAC, the company, and Doom is like this evil company. It's meant to be evil. It's all evil. It's all evil. Evil. Peggle's main menu holds a special place in my heart for being really musical. Each button on the main menu plays a note, so you can play a bunch of songs through just screwing around with the main menu. If you happen to play Ode to Joy, which is Peggle's victory music, you get a little Easter egg too. While there's probably a lot of people that feel nostalgic for COD's main menus, I do have to give it up to Black Ops 1 Zombies. This one used to spook me as a kid because I thought the zombie was gonna break through the glass and get me. The last one I'll mention by name here is Jet Set Radio, because sometimes all you really need is a funky beat, a logo, and the gameplay speaking for itself. I could go on for hours naming off different main menus I enjoy looking at, so I won't bore you with that. Instead, let's talk about main menus for consoles. Remember when we used to have fun with these things, and consoles were allowed to have actual memorable features, characteristics, and background music? I remember a day and age where Usher wished us a happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Xbox.
When you look back at something like the Dreamcast, it's a little crazy getting blasted with all these aesthetics. A lot of people talk about the Xbox 360 and how cool the slices were, or the NXE update that managed to combine the best of the current with the past. Or to go back even further, look at the original Xbox's dashboard, designed to feel like a piece of otherworldly technology that somehow found its way on Earth. It plays edited NASA transmissions from the Apollo missions to sound like alien communication. And now look at the current Xbox menus, man. Ever since that dashboard update in 2013, we've been left feeling like this.
Konnichiwa, minasan. Xboxu no fil desu.
It's not bad, but it's boring, it's bland, it's corporate, and void of any sort of character.
Fil desu.
Also, before they killed off the marketplace, do you think Rockstar, Playground Games, or Activision were still paying for advertising space? Like, do you think there was someone at these companies not noticing $10,000 leaving a marketing account every month? If I have to give it to one major, like, console corporation, the PlayStation never really dropped the ball on making their console menus feel like an experience. We're giving them a sort of outside of this reality feeling. With how much the PS2 liked to visualize your data and gaming experiences, it almost felt like the console's menu was a gateway between you and the game. I mean, look at how ominous this gateway becomes when you insert a disc not meant for the console. This shit is scary. It looks and feels like something is wrong. It also scared the shit out of me when I was a kid trying to play games in the middle of the night. The PlayStation 3 goes orchestral, giving you the feeling of sitting down before a play, building that anticipation, and treating the game you're about to play like, well, a stage play, which also for a console and company that changed its direction towards narrative-focused single-player games is a pretty good choice. The PS4 is a little boring. It kind of just feels like a worse PS3 opening to me, but the PS5 really makes a comeback. I remember booting mine up for the first time and getting the feeling that it was like a shimmering veil between me and whatever game I was going to play. Now, all right, everyone knows what I'm gonna say about the Nintendo startup screens. We all know about the GameCube, we all know about the Wii and its eShop, we get it. Past that, I think more people should talk about the N64's startup screen and menu. Look at this. Hey, just to chime in here because I failed to mention, this startup screen is exclusive to the N64 DD, a disk drive add-on sold exclusively in Japan that absolutely bombed. Like, here's the sales numbers of this thing versus the Ouya. Pitiful. Got Mario running around the 3D logo, really showing off that, hey, we're in 3D now. Look at what Mario can do. The DS and Wii share this sort of similar design philosophy where it feels like a product meant for all ages. It's got a reserved quality to it, each thing on the Wii being its own channel, which is readily understandable for anyone who knows what a TV is, which is pretty much the entire demographic of anyone who isn't a small child picking up the Wii for the first time. Even the Wii U got to have fun. For the 12 million people who bought one, you even get a special little startup screen when you open the console on your birthday. But the moment the Switch came out, Nintendo was like, no fun allowed. It's just a dashboard. It's got a few fun sound effects, but they really put nothing into this. No themes. You can either have a light or dark menu, and when we download things, it is a normal download bar. No fun allowed. Fuck you, Nintendo 3DS eShop download screen. We're shutting you down. While main menus are normally viewed from a utilitarian standpoint of how well they can take you from the options to the game, it's fun to take a look and appreciate how different developers approach what boils down to their games saying, saying hi to you. In a time where some of the biggest game's littlest details are how the tiny bits of fuzz on an ear properly reflect light depending on the time of day, it's nice to focus on the little things that aren't bankrupting big studios. If you enjoyed this video, consider subscribing and watching another one.